Christmas is a great time of year. Families get together, loved ones embrace, presents are handed out, and most importantly, basketball is played.
Having DiVincenzo look either way, count it, and for Tatum. Oh, he caught one! And a tough shot, but it drops.
You can say that an NBA season is split up by checkpoints. The start of the season runs until you hit Christmas as we all take stock, then that runs until the All-Star break, and finally you hit playoff basketball. Well, we've hit checkmark 1. And seeing the Denver Nuggets atop the insanely close and competitive Western Conference may come as a surprise. But not to the fans who watch night in and night out. Okay, maybe not first around Christmas, but we knew. We knew that this team without a doubt was top 3 in the West. Getting every piece back on paper made this Nuggets roster a theoretical nightmare. Nikola Jokic, the back-to-back MVP, was finally going to get back his running mate, Jamal Murray, who's coming back from an ACL injury that took the rising star point guard out of action for an entire season. The Nuggets were also getting back promising scoring threat Michael Porter Jr. back from back surgery, who, in flashes, demonstrated his lights-out shooting ability, and when healthy, his great athleticism. Just with these 3 pieces alone, this Denver Nuggets team looks like the scariest in the league. The Murray-Jokic two-man game is already one of the hardest to guard in the NBA. Do you stay home with the ball handler, or help with the roll man? Both poor decisions, because both of these players can score from wherever, and if you did manage to guard this two-man game, someone had to slide over, opening up the deadly three-point shooter and MPJ to go crazy. This was the image most Nuggets fan had coming into the start of the season. So, what could possibly go wrong? Well, injuries have been a bit of a nightmare, and to no one's surprise, this Nuggets defense still hasn't gotten any better despite making some key acquisitions during the preseason. Well, it's also no secret that Nikola Jokic is a poor rim protector for a center, but I won't go so far as to call him a bad defender. His deflections and ability to anticipate plays is an amazing tool on defense. But that requires the guards to not let opposing guards run all over the court and force Jokic into chase scenarios. Murray has improved in that regard, but is still rough around the edges, and MPJ still gets lost in the defensive schemes and has breakdown after breakdown. If not for his length and height, his defensive rating would probably be in the dumpster. So yes, this is a super-powered offense. It is designed to score on you in a million different ways. But what good does that do when you score 140 but give up 135? What about nights when you get shut down and can't shut down the other team? Well, to patch up those holes, like we mentioned earlier, first-year GM Calvin Booth made aggressive trades to pick up an NBA champion, an elite 3-and-D guy Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And he was able to land Bruce Brown during free agency, 2 guards who are known for their amazing perimeter defense. Well, there you go, problem solved. Your offense is dynamic, your defense should be improved, and all you're asking of your weaker, hope you heard the air quotes, defenders is to be average. Well, Nuggets Nation, all of those on-paper numbers were accurate. On offense, this team is an offensive machine. And of course, as the Nuggets sit atop the West, they must have a top 10 defense that has helped them achieve this level of success. Well, the Denver Nuggets defense currently sits at 15th per StatNews with a defensive rating of 121 and the 4th best offensive rating. So this video will 110% be a video to celebrate our squad reaching the top of the West for now, but also talk about how they're first and honestly aren't even playing their best basketball. How does this team stay atop the West? Is it realistic to dream championship? Or is it just a pipe dream? Alright, Nugget Mine. Let's dig in. Let's start off with the positives, because there really is a lot to be encouraged by. Let's talk about how at least one team in Colorado is cooking offensively. Bye, Nathaniel. The Denver Nuggets are, in fact, this damn good on offense. They are making plays for each other and are continuing to be that selfless team that has attracted a few names to this team over the past few years. The Nuggets are moving the ball around and are finding the best option available by scrambling defenses. The Nuggets are the number 2 assist team in the league with 28 assists per game, and are doing this by penetrating defenses and kicking out to open three-point shooters. Or, Nikola Jokic is drawing double teams and manipulating the floor to his will, and passing to open shooters and passing people open. It's no secret that Nikola is one of the best passers in this league. Period. And his playstyle is infectious. Others look to pass and look to make others better, and it's amazing to watch. A byproduct of this drive and kicks and Jokic kickouts from double teams is wide open threes. and this has the Nuggets as the best 3-point shooting team per percentage. A caveat being that they are attempting the 29th most threes per game in the league at 30, but are making 11 of them every night. Good enough for 39%. Yes, the attempts per game aren't insane like other teams who live and die by the three, but this team is finding the perfect shots for the right players, and they are draining them. This offense is also humming with Aaron Gordon finding his role and honing his chemistry with Jokic. There isn't many teams in this league that run 4-5 dribble handoffs and 4-5 pick and rolls with the 5 as the ball handler. Gordon is always in the right spot for a picture-perfect Nikola dime, and is athletic and big enough to catch passes over defenders, run and fill the floor, and crash the offensive glass to create extra possessions. Gordon has been nothing short of an all-star caliber player this season, and has finally found the formula to turn this team from a good team to a great team. He has become the perfect player for the role he is in, and deserves so much credit for this team's success this year. Nikola is traditionally a slow starter, and this year was no exception. But this December, he has turned on MVP mode, and has reinserted himself in the MVP conversation with force. I won't bore you with the same old talk about how Nikola is the best center of the league, a world-class passer, incredibly clutch, nearly averaging a triple-double, putting up historic numbers this season, and is the most important and valuable player to this team with the biggest plus-minus differential when he is on and off the court. We don't need to talk about that. Just know, Nikola Jokic is that guy. He has been that guy, and will continue to be that guy for this Denver Nuggets roster, and is getting ready to make history as a back-to-back-to-back MVP. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are both coming back after a year away recovering from an ACL and back surgery respectively. Porter came in picking up exactly where he left off, a deadly shooter who is finding his role on offense, while Murray is taking his time rounding into form. While he lacks some of his speed and explosion, his chemistry with Jokic hasn't wavered, and his feel for the Nuggets offense seems to have improved after watching from the sidelines. Even in his shooting slumps, he's found ways to be effective on the floor. His assists are up, and he contributes to the late-game Nuggets defense that has been stellar. Okay, we're about to transition over to some of those negatives, which mainly will be on the defensive end, but there is some things to be encouraged by. When this team needs a stop, it's been able to get it, as evidenced by their league-leading fourth quarter defensive rating. It continues to show that this team does have that defensive gear. It's just a matter of if they're willing to do that for a full 48 minutes. It's no accident that this team is first in the West, but there is so much this team can clean up that can take it from a great regular season team to a serious title contender. I am not the first person to say this, and I will not be the last to say this. Denver's defense is horrible. Okay, it's trending up, so maybe we can call it subpar instead. But the statement remains. This team is winning games, but they're doing it to the tune of 120 to 116 on a nightly basis. And it doesn't take much to know that this isn't a winning formula come playoff time, when scoring becomes harder and you need to rely on defense getting important stops. As someone who follows this team on a night in and night out basis, this has been the most confusing area this year. The pickup of elite defender in KCP and Bruce Brown, as we mentioned earlier, was supposed to patch up those holes on both the starting unit and on the bench. Again, hot take, Nikola Jokic's defense isn't as horrible as everyone says. His perimeter defense against bigs and even some guards is amazing. His anticipation and deflections pay that off. But it's when opposing guards make ours look silly that Nikola gets in trouble, because his rim protection is as bad as they say. But when your guard can't stay in front of their man one-on-one, it really takes away from Jokic's best aspects on defense. With KCP and Bruce, these blow-bys should have gone down. But in the early stages of the season, we are seeing the same story. Teams were going wild on the perimeter, getting by their defenders and kicking the ball out to wide-open three-point shooters. This percentage has gone down, but the Nuggets are currently letting in 37% of opposing teams' three-point attempts. A mark that's good for 11th in the NBA, but it's not a percentage you want as we move deeper into the season and into the postseason. I did try and point out some of the tools that Jokic uses to play good enough defense to help his team, but there is aspects where he could be better. We don't need to mention his lack of verticality. We know he isn't jumping out of the building. But there has been a decreased lack of energy on contesting shots at the rim. Of the 8 shots taken at the rim with Joker as the primary defender, nearly 6 of them are dropping, more than likely off a weak contest or no contest. In some games, it looks like he's attempting to avoid racking up fouls as he has in years prior, but a lack of presence at the rim is letting teams live in Denver's paint. Defense is a team stat. A lot of players need to do their job effectively, but there are moments where just showing his length and going straight up would help Denver a lot. Michael Porter has also been the focus of defensive criticism, as he is currently getting the Jamal Murray treatment from a few years ago. Teams are actively hunting him and forcing switches that turn into favorable matchups for them. His feet still look like they're in quicksand, and his feel for defending isn't there just yet either, as we routinely see him getting lost on coverages while leaving players wide open after a blown rotation. All of these issues were glaring in the first 10 games, but after he went down with injury, those 13 games that were played without him showed something no one wanted to believe. This team was better defensively when MPJ was in the lineup. Not by a massive margin, but the plus-minus gave Porter a legitimate case for being an average defender. His length is his biggest blessing, and even when point guards force a switch, he's long enough to contest shots and make their lives harder. No better example than on Christmas Day, where a regular mid-range assassin in Chris Paul forced those switches on Porter and was bothered by his length and missed several routine shots. His length even gives opposing forwards trouble, but they're still able to blow by him, and when a play breaks down, he's a lost puppy. But these are coachable aspects that could be fixed, should Porter want to make that leap. Murray took it personally when teams targeted him and became a better defender. That same energy from Porter would be great for this team's defense. The last piece of this machine that needs work and tuning, well, at least the last glaring piece that needs tuning, it's our bench. And this one may hurt a little more than our defense. A common trend in what many call the Jokic era is our starters go out and give a masterclass on how to play basketball. The ball is moving, buckets are being drained, and you would see the Nuggets open up a good 10 to 15 point lead. Then the subs would come in and that lead would either shrink to 4 or even become a deficit, all in the span of 5 minutes. The most stressful minutes in a Nuggets game are the minutes that Jokic is resting. And for the first time, I thought maybe we found a reliable bench. Nishan Bones Highland is a second-year player that turned heads last year with his scorching hot shooting and his infectious personality. This Denver team saw enough in this rookie to send former Mr. Nugget and the most reliable bench point guard in the league, in Monte Morris, over to Washington. All to make way for this rookie to lead our bench and maintain our lead or even expand it. Unfortunately, the sophomore slump seems to have hit Bones, as he is really struggling right now to shoot the basketball. And with his main tool MIA, other parts of his game are suffering as well. His playmaking is reliant on guards being forced to stick with him, since he is a scoring threat from the logo, drawing people out and giving his team good spacing. He proved to be a capable passer this preseason, but is struggling delivering on-time passes or is turning the ball over. Add to this his poor defensive effort, and as of right now, his play hasn't been what we expected. That being said, although he is struggling, it is very encouraging to see Coach Michael Malone let him play through these mistakes and learn on a game-to-game basis. This level of development and trial by fire has never been a Malone staple, and many fans are quick to call him out for his stubbornness when it comes to playing promising young talent. More on that in a moment. Now, as I said prior, basketball is a team game. It's easy to single a person out, but there is many more problems on this bench besides Bones. The backup center role has been a massive question mark, since your backup center in DeAndre Jordan has been subpar at best, and the next man up is undersized Zeke Naji. You're bound to see blunders when the motor of your offense is replaced with a traditional center who is there for boards and lobs, or the smaller center who is there to switch on defense and maybe space the floor. Neither of these options are panning out at the moment, but with Michael Malone searching, perhaps Zeke can find a way to secure more playtime. Bruce Brown is another piece who is a terrific pickup and can hold down the bench very well with his ability to run the offense and defend guards at a high level. However, due to injuries, he saw more time as a starter and less as a bench player, creating holes in chemistry that shows when plays are ran, only for the ball to get stuck as all 5 players look at each other confused. And as good as a defender as Bruce is, he is a shorter player, so having to guard 3s or 4s has proven difficult, which may explain why the defensive rating went down with Bruce playing the small forward position as a starter, despite being an elite guard defender. But with players returning, the bench should be on its regular rotation, and maybe this can help, which brings us back to Malone, not being ready to trust rookies. Christian Braun has been nothing short of yet another draft steal from this amazing Nuggets scouting team. The kid from Kansas has demonstrated that he already has what some NBA players take years to get: high defensive IQ. He has a feel for the game that's just natural. He makes little mistakes and is always in the correct spot. The only thing he's lacking right now is reps at the NBA level and maybe a consistent three-point shot. But Malone is keeping his minutes limited, and as easy as it is to say, oh well, he's not part of the 7 and 9 man playoff rotation, so we'll only play him when we need to, is in my humble, small-minded fan brain, a mistake. He has proven against elite competition that he can keep up and guard the best. His length and understanding of defensive schemes makes him invaluable to this bench as a reliable wing defender. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but I am very much so in the play Brown camp. So how have the Nuggets survived with such a subpar bench? What has the answer been from Coach Michael Malone? Well, the answer has been not to play a bench. At least not your entire bench. He's staggering starters in and out as needed, and he's been really fond of running Murray with the bench to provide some sort of playmaker to help get the burden off Bones. Shuffling in KCP and even in some cases Gordon has proven to really keep the pedal down and has our team working well. And in a way, it's getting us ready for the postseason with this shorter rotation. But in a regular season, it would be nice to have a full bench to properly rest your starters and not overwork anyone before the games really matter. So many issues, so many mistakes are being made, and yet here we are. As of recording this video, and that part is incredibly important given how close everything is. The Nuggets are first place in the West, and they are nowhere near their best. We are currently spoiled as Nuggets fans as we watch a product that we expect to be great. And when we have an off game, everyone comes out to remind us how we aren't ready to win at all. How this team isn't XYZ. This team is rounding into form. Players are finding their strides. Role players are evolving into the perfect players for this team. Jokic is going to make it very difficult for voters to deny him a third straight MVP. Although this guy in Dallas is playing out of his mind right now, the Jokic-Murray two-man game somehow looks better despite them not playing with each other for over a year. The three-point shooting is looking deadly, and everyone already knows how dangerous Jokic is with shooters around him. And although we are worried about the defense, in the last 10 games, the Nuggets sit 9th in the NBA, a drastic improvement from 24th. Staggering in the bench is providing some needed boost while that unit gets right. How can you not look at this team that is working with a top 5 record in the league and not be encouraged? Our best basketball is ahead of us, and judging by our 13-3 record at Ball Arena and sold out crowd after sold out crowd, maybe the city as a whole is taking notice that your Denver Nuggets may just be title contenders.